Because I did. I have like a fucking hemorrhage from this movie, I swear to God. With the new Wonder Woman movie coming out very, very soon, I think I'm, 2 days away from it. Figured we would go ahead and check out the very first blunder in the DC Extended Universe, Batman vs. Superman. To the surprise of many, there's actually quite a bit good with Batman vs. Superman, and usually that's in the visual department. You look at some of the stuff that they have going on here, it's all very much the same as what Zack Snyder has done with the past few movies he's done, such as Watchmen and 300. I didn't really care that much for Sucker Punch, but I mean, it looks okay. You got stuff like the Dark Knight cover, that moment where they just show Batman fighting off Doomsday, or who, if it may have been Superman, I don't even remember. There were some really good shots with Superman doing some cool stuff. There was also the part where Wonder Woman jumps in to save Batman. I thought that was awesome. Just seeing the Trinity together was pretty damn amazing. So visually, I think this is a very sound movie. The acting varies a lot, but I think it's okay, especially with Batman and Alfred. Their interactions between the two of them are really good. I felt like they could have built these characters a little bit more, and probably could have had that same sort of range with the other ones, but I thought it was really good. I think Ben Affleck's going to end up being one of the best Batmans we've ever seen. There's also pretty good music other than that. There was a lot of themes for each hero, which we don't really see a lot with comic book movies anymore, which I especially liked. I just know Batman and Wonder Woman got their own for sure. I don't remember hearing Superman's. It didn't even seem like he really had one in Man of Steel, but, you know. The idea of an older Batman really played to Ben Affleck's performance. I felt like, he was pretty worn out. We've already seen countless origin stories and tales of Batman to the point where we could just show him as an older man and be accepting of it. The only thing about it is we really don't get a sense of what this Batman's motivations and stuff like that are. And that's just a general problem with the film overall, of course, but, it especially gets a little jarring when you see stuff like Robin's costume painted over, pretty much confirming that Jason Todd is in this universe, but we don't see like a flashback to where he got beat up or anything like that, like a little Jared Leto cameo or something like that, but, I mean, whatever. All the costume designs are great. I really do like the etched wording, the Kryptonian wording on Superman's costume. There's also the Batman costume, which I think is the best one I've ever seen, at least in film, since Michael Keaton's. I didn't care too much for the Dark Knight costume. It just seemed it seemed a little too armored and techy for my liking, so this is definitely a grittier take on it. Wonder Woman's costume is great too. The only thing about it is I'm not a big fan of her skirt. It just seems a little flimsy, not so much like armor. It looks leather bound, but then again, it also looks kind of plasticky, so it's kind of hard to tell. But her costume is great. The whole gladiator look overall really brings out her heritage as being sort of this demigod in a way. But, I think all the costume designs are great. The set designs and the props are also really good. If you look at the Batcave, it's really the most unique Batcave we've ever seen. And again, probably the best one I've ever seen. I think it's my personal favorite. Just because it's sort of like a penthouse. Like, it almost looks like his actual Wayne Manor house built, like, sort of overlaps into the Batcave. Because we see the stone walls. It's almost very unique because you see the penthouse sort of layer over the Batcave itself, and we see the waterfalls and the stone walls that we have always seen in the other incarnations of the character. I think that's very unique. The way they had the Batwing set up with the tarp covering over it to make it sort of look like a bat's leather wings, I thought that was really clever and really well done. Overall, with that side of things, like, his gadgets even are really good. If you look at some of them, they sort of have the wooden handle, and the batarangs do look badass. I have no problem with any of the set design or the props making for this. And as far as my positives go, that's pretty much it. I praise the movie on its visual design as far as the layering and the outlining of each image, but the colors themselves are so muted. Especially on something like Superman's costume and Wonder Woman's, which I guess they're just going to keep going with that, but I'd rather they brighten the colors on those and, make them stand out as opposed to Batman, because really they sort of blend together in this weird, I don't want to say gray matter, but they're definitely just muted, and it doesn't seem like this is the kind of thing you would want for a superhero. You would want them to stand out. You want them to be that beacon of hope, at least with a character like Superman or Wonder Woman. The motivations for each character and the reason why Batman and Superman fight, it's just poor. Like, you really don't get a sense of, the movie's been building up to it, because there's literally like something 5 minutes that happens in the movie that makes Superman go out and find Batman in order to stop him. The only reason he's trying to stop him is just to save his mother. That's the only reason Superman has to save those people. That's the only reason Superman has to stop Batman. And it just seems very just rushed. There's no other word for it other than rushed. You could have just stretched it out along the movie. I mean, they had a meetup before then where Superman just wanted Batman to stop for whatever fucking reason. And that didn't even make a whole lot of sense on its own. Like, Batman was trying to stop criminals, and you literally stopped him so they got away. And granted, Batman was actually killing those guys, but still, Superman, you didn't have a reason to do that. You could have helped Batman afterwards. You could have captured the criminals, tied them up or whatever, and then talked to Batman after. The way you interrupted him was just so dickish. Superman is a dick in this movie. And while I'm talking about that, I might as well go ahead and get into the fact that I don't see the difference between Superman and Clark. I mean, I haven't watched the original Christopher Reeve version, but I knew he was sort of a doofus, Clark himself. But there was a reason for that. You had to be able to tell a difference between what Superman was doing and what Clark was doing. Clark, in this movie, he's basically the same, like, strong-headed reporter. But we don't need him to be strong-headed like he is when he's being Superman. We need him to be a little fidgety, just sort of like, at least try. At least try to be sort of that human character that we can all relate to. And I mean, like, Lois knows about him being Superman and all, but at the same time, no one else should know that. And if Lois can figure it out of all people, then really, shouldn't everyone else know? There's no, like, moment of him humbling himself as the Superman character either. He's sort of just seen as this godly figure, and it's just because he doesn't seem, ecstatic about what he does. He doesn't seem like he's really helping people. It seems like he's just bored. The whole fucking movie, he's just bored. And he could have lightened up just a little bit and been the Superman that we all know and love. At some moments, I feel like that could have been warranted. And now, we're gonna get into this son of a bitch. Lex Luthor. He's the ultimate reason why I walked out of this movie mad. I was so pissed off. I really couldn't even understand the reason why they were making him this sort of way. I couldn't understand why Zack Snyder and Jesse Eisenberg were saying, yes, this is the kind of villain that we need. I'm really baffled by the kind of lines they gave him. None of the dialogue he's given is good. He really needed some restraint because it's just painful. And it felt like he was trying to break a typecast of something like Michael Cera. Michael Cera, he's pretty typecast a lot of the time as sort of the awkward teen. And Jesse Eisenberg has that same problem. He's just sort of the awkward, skittish teen. And it seemed with this role, he was trying to be devious, but he was still acting like that teen. It just wasn't good. His little giggling, his stuttering and stuff, it just seemed like he really didn't know what he was doing. It seemed like they tried to be very, impromptu with what he was doing, and it's baffling. I don't understand it. I really don't. And you know, this is like the thing that you don't want to be campy. You want your villain to be a villain. And if he's gonna act silly, you need everyone else in the movie acting silly, or it just seems out of place. And that's all he was doing, is just being a nuisance and being out of place. Him being able to get Zod's body was probably the most insulting thing in the entire movie. I don't think Jolly Ranchers are a valid form of legal tender, especially when it comes to government officials holding his body. I don't think Lex is as intelligent as the people who wrote him thought he was gonna be, or even Jesse Eisenberg who played him, because in the special features it seems like he really thinks he was playing somebody who had a lot going for him, when in reality he was really boring. Like, in a very bad way, he was not just a stern villain, he wasn't like levitating to me. He just seemed like he was wandering aimlessly and pissing people off throughout the movie. No one wanted him in the fucking scenes that he was in, it seemed like. And I heard on the special features that they tried to compare him to Alex from A Clockwork Orange in terms of him being a sociopath. And I found that to be very, very infuriating, because not only is Alex a sociopath for the reasons of... Not only is Alex a sociopath because he's sort of a nuisance, but he also rapes. He performs ultra-violence, and he's just someone who does overall debauchery. That's who he is. And the movie itself, A Clockwork Orange, is just talking about how you have to give someone that freedom in order to be a good person. If you're not giving them the freedom, then how are they human? That movie had a smart satire, in a way. What is Lex Luthor doing in this movie? He's pissing in jars, and then blows people up just to frame Superman. He has ulterior motives. That doesn't count as debauchery at all. That's not someone who seriously has a sociopathic tendency. That's someone who just wants to piss people off and has a lot of fucking money. So yeah, Lex Luthor is pretty much a fucking nuisance throughout this entire movie, and probably the worst supervillain I've ever seen in my life. Oh wait, no, there's another really bad looking supervillain. I'm not talking about his hairpiece, no, I'm talking about Doomsday, who literally looks like a tortoise's penis, with a really bad STD infection that no one will discover for another 5 years. I don't really know who thought this design was gonna work. Like, his face is all round and meaty. He doesn't look as menacing as he did in the comics. He was more rigid. There was a lot more texture with him. He just looks like a blob with fucking shards of scrap metal coming out of him. It just doesn't look good. None of it looks good. And I mean, in the comics he didn't really show a lot of emotion. That was mainly just because his character was all about killing Superman. In this, we never see that it's programmed for him to just want to kill Superman. It just seems like he wants to kill anything in his fucking way. It's just jarring. I really don't know why they put him in this. He just feels tacked on. Save this kind of villain for something else. You know what else you should save for something else? Another film? Superman dying. Yeah, this movie ends with Superman dying, of all things. Like, did you guys really think you have earned it after 2 films? Yeah, counting Man of Steel, this is the only other film that we see Superman in. And I just don't get it. Why did he have to die in this movie? Like, could we have him in Justice League? Like, it just seems like... This is like if you had Winter Soldier kill off Steve Rogers. That just doesn't make sense to me. This is supposed to be the person that has the littlest bit of hope in him. And really, I don't care that this one died, because he doesn't have any hope. Honestly, I wouldn't want to see him in Justice League, and I hope he isn't in it much, because he's kind of a fucking bummer. I'd rather have more moments with the Flash and maybe Aquaman acting awesome. Like, seriously, just get rid of the stick in the mud. Fuck him. Fuck Superman in this movie. Oh yeah, and let's go ahead and get into that scene with the JLA, speaking of which. So they have this scene where Wonder Woman gets an email from Bruce Wayne. First off, don't understand the scene where Batman gives Wonder Woman the email. I mean, really, it's just out of place. Isn't he getting ready to go fight Superman? Like, why the fuck would this be a thing that he does? I mean, it'd be better, honestly, if they took that scene at the end of Suicide Squad with Batman meeting up with Amanda Waller and just put that in this. It would have set up Suicide Squad a lot better. It would have ended up making more sense for him to have the files, because if he already has the email full of all these dossiers for the Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg, why the hell would he need some paper folders in Suicide Squad? He already has as much information as he's going to need to track him down. I mean, that just seems like he's working backwards a little bit, doesn't it? And really, that's just where I gotta end it, because I could just ramble on about this movie and find new problems the more I watch it. Now, I'm not gonna talk about the extended edition. I feel like it added quite a bit. In a way, it did make the movie a little bit better. It supported Superman's character quite a bit, but it's not enough to save the movie at its foundation. And really, that all starts at the writing. Honestly, if this had just been a little bit better written, I wouldn't have too many problems with it. That's all it comes down to. It's where the actors got their inspiration from. It's where Zack Snyder took his direction in. It could have been something that would have fixed the film. If I had to give this a rating, honestly, it would be a 5 out of 10. There's a good amount of balance of the bad stuff and the stuff that actually does work. I can't act like this is the worst film I've ever seen. It's the one that's left me the most angry in recent memory. But again, it came out a year and 3 months ago. So it's hard for me to even still be mad at it, but I still understand why I didn't like it to begin with. And I really hope I'm going to enjoy Wonder Woman a lot better than this one. So that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm not sure exactly what my next film is going to be. I'm probably going to go ahead and do an actual review of Wonder Woman. It's going to be just long length, off the top of my head. I might record it like right when I get out of the theater and I manage to get back. So it's going to be a fairly quick review, but I'll have it up once I get out of the theater. But hey, until then, this has been Z-Roll Productions, and I'll be seeing y'all next time. Peace out.